You have the whole issue with building something in a deadly jungle with all sorts of disease and pestilence and lack of sanitation, and it's scary.
The Panama Canal, a lifeline of global commerce, is now a battleground of stalled ships and rising tensions. In a shocking move, the U.S. has shut down this crucial passageway, throwing world trade into a tailspin and setting the stage for a dramatic showdown with a new $4 billion competitor. What chaos will explode on the seas now? Let's look into the crisis with us as we expose the stakes of this global gridlock, a $4 billion standstill at the heart of global trade. We should start at the beginning of the Panama Canal to grasp how serious this issue is. Before the canal existed, ships between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans had to pass through dangerous waters at the southern end of South America, including the Drake Passage and the Strait of Magellan. This route was treacherous due to strong currents and winds, making it a risky trip for sailors. Understanding this helps us see what a huge change could mean for global trade in the future.
For centuries, nations have tried and failed to find a shortcut between the Atlantic and the Pacific. It would save time, it would save lives, it would save money. But it would take American imagination, American industry, and yes, American guts to finally pull it off.
Spanish explorers longed for a safer and quicker route, which led to the idea of the Panama Canal. The plan was to cut through the narrow strip of land between North and South America, allowing ships to avoid the long and perilous journey around South America. Panama, which was part of Colombia at the time, was chosen as the canal's location because the United States had already built a railway there in the 1800s, roughly following the path where the canal would eventually be dug. In 1881, the first attempt to build the canal began under the leadership of La Compagnie Universelle du Canal Interoceanique, directed by Ferdinand de Lesseps, who had successfully overseen the construction of the Suez Canal. The goal of this grand project was not just to change how goods were transported worldwide, but also to drastically reduce travel time for ships, making it a key part of international trade. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the man behind the successful Suez Canal, was confident in his ability to take on another big project, a sea-level canal in Panama. Most of the money for this project came from public funds. However, not everyone was convinced his plan would work. One of the doubters was engineer Adolphe Gaudin de l'Épinay. After studying Panama's land and elevation closely, he believed that building a canal at sea level was not practical for the Panama terrain. Instead, he suggested a different approach, creating large artificial lakes using water from the Chagres and Rio Grande rivers, which flowed into both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. His idea involved building dams at Gatun and Miraflores to form lakes about 25 meters deep. L'Épinay also proposed cutting a path through the mountains and using a system of locks to raise and lower ships to the necessary water levels. This would allow ships to move smoothly between the lakes and the sea. Many technical experts thought his plan was better, but the French team in charge of construction decided to stick with their original plan and ignored his advice. This decision led to many problems because de Lesseps didn't fully understand the challenges of Panama's hot, humid jungles and the diseases that thrived there, which were very different from the dry deserts of Egypt. As the construction struggled, it became clear that new strategies were needed to finish the canal, a project that aimed to transform global trade and show human determination to overcome nature's obstacles. But the challenges didn't stop there. The difficulties faced during the Panama Canal's construction, filled with operational setbacks and strategic mistakes, highlight its complicated history and the ongoing effort required to keep this crucial waterway open. Next, we dive into the tough challenges of building the canal. Overcoming Panama's rugged terrain. The terrain itself was tough, with heavy rainfall and rugged landscapes stretching from the high mountain ranges of the Continental Divide to the swampy coastlines. Even though there were skilled engineers on site, they didn't have a clear plan to deal with these harsh conditions, making the construction process even more complicated. The equipment designed for Egypt's dry Suez region wasn't suited for Panama's wet and hilly terrain, leading to major setbacks. Early on, the French struggled. hinting at the bigger challenges ahead for anyone trying to link two vast oceans. Workers and engineers faced deadly tropical diseases, causing many deaths. To save money, the French company switched from a sea-level canal to a cheaper lock system. But this change didn't solve the main problems, and financial losses kept piling up. As confidence in the project leaders faded, several attempts to rescue the project failed, ending in bankruptcy in 1889. Attempts to revive it in 1894 also failed, and by 1898, all efforts stopped. But the toughest challenges were yet to come. When the Americans took over, they faced the same deadly diseases and tough working conditions. However, they made great strides in fighting illnesses like malaria and yellow fever by improving sanitation, controlling mosquitoes, and providing better health care. These measures reduced deaths and improved the health of workers. A major success was the construction of the Gatun locks, which lifted ships 85 feet into Gatun Lake, a man-made lake created by damming the Chagres River. Ships would cross the lake and then descend through the Pedro Miguel and Miraflores locks to reach the Pacific Ocean. This required large concrete structures and complex machinery. Yet the hardest work was still ahead. The Panama Canal finally opened on August 15, 1914, marking a significant moment in history by greatly shortening the journey between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and changing global trade and navigation forever. The project faced many challenges, especially with the Chagres River, which could suddenly flood after heavy rain. In 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt supported Chief Engineer John Frank Stevens's idea for a lock system, inspired by an earlier French design. This led to the creation of Gatun Lake, the world's largest artificial lake at the time, which was crucial for controlling the river's flow along the 50-mile canal route. At its peak, the project employed over 40,000 workers. Most of the engineers and administrators were from the U.S., while most of the laborers came from the West Indies. The construction used over 100 steam shovels to dig through the Culebra Cut, which was later renamed Gaillard Cut, after American engineer David Dubose Gaillard, who led the project until his early death. Railroads were essential for moving supplies and equipment, especially through the unstable Culebra Cut, where frequent mudslides and landslides often caused fatalities. These natural disasters made it difficult to predict and control earth movements, and sometimes the excavation floor would unexpectedly rise due to pressure from the surrounding hills. One of the most notable incidents was a continuous landslide at Cucaracha in 1907, which greatly slowed progress by dumping millions of cubic yards of earth into the construction site. Despite these harsh conditions, workers persevered, often working in temperatures as high as 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They removed 73 million cubic meters of rock and soil using steam shovels, dynamite, and rock drills. Their relentless efforts eventually brought the excavation floor within 40 feet of sea level. Now, the canal faces its real tests against nature and trade. The Panama Canal's ingenious design and global impact. When a ship enters the canal, it goes through 3 sets of locks. Water moves from the second lock to the first, gradually lifting the ship. Once the water levels in the 2 locks equalize, the ship moves to the second lock. After passing through the third lock, the ship rises 85 feet above sea level and then sails across the large Gatun Lake. At the lake's end, the ship lowers through the same locks in reverse to return to sea level. The canal was built, but its real test against nature and its impact on global trade was just beginning. But there was another challenge. The canal's clever design relies heavily on fresh water, using about 52 million gallons per crossing, mostly from Gatun Lake and Lake Alajuela. Rain typically refills these lakes, keeping the canal operational. However, during severe droughts when rain is scarce, the canal faces significant challenges due to lower water levels. This highlights how much the canal depends on a consistent water supply. The Panama Canal not only stands as a monumental engineering achievement, but also plays a crucial role in global trade. Changes in canal traffic often reflect shifts in the global economy, with more ships passing through during economic booms and fewer during downturns. In times of major economic crises, the number of ships passing through can drop sharply, showing just how vital the canal is to international trade and as a measure of economic health. The story of the Panama Canal under American control began in 1914. For many years, the canal played a vital role in quickly moving U.S. naval forces during important conflicts like the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 and the Vietnam and Korean Wars. However, on January 1, 2000, control of the canal was handed over to Panama, marking a new chapter in its history. Today, the Panama Canal remains a key route for global trade, shaping the economy of the region. Its strategic location and modern features have driven economic growth, technological progress, and infrastructure improvements. The expansion in 2016, which added larger locks, increased the canal's capacity and allowed bigger ships known as New Panamax vessels to pass through. But the canal faces some serious challenges, particularly when it comes to managing water. The canal relies on fresh water from artificial lakes like Lake Gatun and Lake Alajuela. During droughts, lower water levels in these lakes could threaten the canal's ability to function properly. Such shortages could have a major impact on global trade. Various solutions have been proposed to address this water issue, but these could affect local communities and the environment. Even though the U.S. no longer controls the canal, it remains an important route for American military operations. It offers a quicker path for naval ships to move from the East Coast to the Pacific Ocean, which could be crucial in times of conflict. For Panama, the canal is not just a military asset, but a key part of its economy. Any disruption in the canal's operations could lead to serious economic problems for the country. The challenge of managing water is significant. The canal requires about 52 million gallons of water for each ship that passes through. Although rainfall helps refill Lake Gatun, which is crucial for navigation, much of that water flows back to the sea. Balancing the water needs of the canal with the needs of Panama's people, who rely on the same water sources for drinking, is a tough task. Despite being a country with heavy rainfall, Panama experienced a major lack of rain in 2023 due to the El Niño weather pattern, which can change usual weather conditions.
2023 has been the second driest year in the history of the Panama Canal.
More hurdles await as climate and commerce intersect. Panama's drying dilemma. In October 2023, Panama had one of its driest months, making the situation worse. El Niño events usually last 9 to 12 months, but they can go on for years, especially with the increasing effects of climate change. Right now, there's a 60% chance that this El Niño could last longer than usual, raising serious concerns for Panama's upcoming rainy season. If the lakes that are crucial for the canal don't refill, it could lead to a crisis that affects both local and global trade. The canal's future now seems uncertain, relying heavily on unpredictable weather conditions, but the worst might still be ahead if these challenges aren't addressed. El Niño is certainly a big factor in the problems we're facing, but it's not the only one. The Panama Canal's water shortage also comes from widespread deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. Even though the Amazon is far away, it plays a crucial role in keeping the canal's water levels stable. The rainforest does this by releasing large amounts of water vapor into the air, a process called transpiration. This vapor turns into clouds and eventually rain, which helps keep the local climate in balance. When trees in the Amazon are cut down, this rain-making cycle is disrupted. Fewer trees mean less water vapor, leading to less rain. This drop in rainfall is bad news for the future of the rainforest itself. If deforestation continues, the Amazon could reach a tipping point where it can't produce enough rain to sustain itself. In this scenario, the rainforest would become weaker, releasing more carbon dioxide and holding on to less rain, which would further reduce its ability to generate rain. Recent studies show that parts of the Amazon are now releasing more carbon dioxide than they absorb, making climate problems worse for areas like Panama that depend on steady rainfall. The ongoing deforestation, combined with less rain and increased carbon emissions, adds to global climate challenges. The situation in Panama is a clear example of how changes in one part of the world can have significant impacts on another, but this is only part of the story. We need to act quickly to address climate change, stop deforestation, and manage water resources better. Protecting the Amazon is essential, not just for its impact on global and local climates, but also to ensure the Panama Canal operates smoothly. The canal's shrinking water levels affect not just local water supplies, but also regional climates and global trade routes. Because of this water shortage, the Panama Canal Authority has had to make tough choices, like limiting the number of ships that can pass through each day. Normally, about 36 ships use the canal daily, but now this number has been cut to around 20. This puts shipping companies in a difficult position, forcing them to consider expensive and challenging alternatives. Some companies choose to wait in line, which can be costly and lead to delays that last for weeks, hurting their profits. Others may pay extra to move ahead, a cost that not all companies can afford. As a result, many are deciding to skip the Panama Canal altogether, opting for longer routes like the Strait of Magellan or around Cape Horn, which adds more travel time and creates more logistical challenges. But the challenges don't end here. Security issues in the Red Sea, another key global trade route, have also been causing trouble. Attacks on ships in this area have led many to avoid the Suez Canal, putting even more pressure on global shipping networks.
Today, a ship attacked by Iran-backed Houthi rebels last month sank in the Red Sea. The British-flagged Rubimar is the first vessel to be destroyed in their campaign to disrupt shipping in the region.
These disruptions cause delays and supply chain problems, which can lead to higher prices and make it harder for governments to control inflation.
Global shipping is severely disrupted by Houthi attacks on ships heading to the Suez Canal. But across the Atlantic, the other canal vital to international trade, the Panama Canal, is also suffering from major disruption as many fewer ships are now getting through.
As the congestion at the Panama Canal grows, so do the safety risks, with ships often waiting for long periods. Looking ahead, balancing human and environmental needs is key. Rerouting rivers to revive a canal. Several ideas have been suggested to solve the ongoing water shortage, which is critical for the canal's operation. One idea is to bring seawater into Gatun Lake, the canal's main freshwater source. However, this solution could put Panama's freshwater supply at risk, as Gatun Lake is also vital to the country's drinking water. Introducing salt water could lower the water quality, affecting the health of people in Panama. One idea proposes redirecting rivers to increase water flow into the canal, which could solve the water shortage issue. But this solution brings serious risks, potentially harming the environment and local communities. Changing the course of rivers might disrupt the delicate balance of local habitats, endanger various species, and negatively impact indigenous communities who rely on these rivers for their daily lives and cultural practices. However, the challenges go beyond just water supply. Experts warn that fixing the canal's water problem alone won't solve the bigger issues at play. A broader approach is needed to address the root causes, such as the ongoing destruction of forests and the escalating problem of climate change. The continuous deforestation of the Amazon, for example, plays a major role in altering weather patterns, worsening water shortages, and destabilizing global climate systems.
The big problem we're having is lack of rain. In the rainy season, which goes from May until December, we're supposed to get tons of rain and fill the lakes. This year, there was very little rain. We had El Niño year. And now that we're in summer, the lake started the summer with very low level.
To secure the future of the Panama Canal, it's crucial to protect the Amazon and address global environmental challenges. The harm done to the Amazon affects not just the immediate region, but also poses a serious threat to climate stability on a much larger scale, which in turn jeopardizes the canal's operation. Even though global awareness is growing, only a few countries in South America are taking strong action against deforestation. Greater cooperation and the sharing of effective conservation strategies could strengthen these efforts. The United States, recognizing the canal's crucial role in international trade, is urged to take more significant steps in preserving forests. Balancing the canal's water needs with Panama's people's needs is no simple task. The canal authorities have proposed creating a new reservoir on the Indio River as a solution, This would increase the canal's capacity and ensure a more reliable water supply. However, this project comes with a hefty price tag of about $900 million and poses potential risks to the environment and nearby communities. But the biggest concerns aren't just about the cost. The construction could disrupt the natural environment, possibly encroaching on protected areas and forcing local residents to relocate. These challenges demand thoughtful consideration to prevent environmental damage and protect the livelihoods of local people. The canal is deeply tied to Panama's economic success, generating over $32 billion in 2022, a significant boost to the nation's economy. Yet the canal's declining condition, highlighted by recent operational difficulties, threatens its ability to sustain both global trade and Panama's economic health. It's essential to find a solution that balances environmental preservation with social well-being to safeguard the future of this critical global trade route. The Panama Canal, constructed over a century ago, was not designed to handle the extreme weather patterns we face today. At that time, the potential impact of climate change wasn't fully understood. This engineering marvel, remarkable for its time, now struggles with a declining water supply. This decrease is a major concern, not only for the canal's continued operation, but also for Panama's economy and the global trade that depends on this route. The problems facing the Panama Canal illustrate how deeply interconnected our world is, both in terms of the environment and the economy. It's clear that we need strategies that address the immediate challenges while ensuring this essential infrastructure's long-term sustainability. Do you think modern engineering could have prevented the Panama Canal's struggles? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more.